talking about of Africa and still in light of resilience, meaning Eritrea's resilience, what potential lessons can African nations draw from its experience, and how has this influenced the nation of Eritrea itself? Maybe you have touched this already, but in a broader way, how has this influenced the broader African contexts?
Yeah, let's hear from Biniam on that one first.
Okay.
Because he spends his days, researching those things.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. There is something to learn, but also it's important to remember that Eritrea was also learning from other Africans. Yeah, other African experiences. The very point you mentioned about ethnicity, yeah, and understanding of the nation state. Yeah, there's so much lesson learned. Yeah. From other African mistakes as well. This is how our Eritrean own mistake as well as other African mistakes. So to rectify that, we have to invest in a common narrative, yeah, that brings us together. And the more you invest on that, the more it becomes solid and it gains salience. Yeah, it is not to eliminate other differences, but rather to embrace them, but also recognize building a nation requires a common narrative and wanting to build a common future, define your own destiny. That's very important. So the lesson goes back and forth. But particularly with the self-reliance, there's a lot that Eritrea tried to learn from the Tanzanian experience as well, but also own experience as well. That was very important. Now, in the Tanzanian experience, I see that there weren't that much of class sensitive in the ways in which it has been mobilized. There's elitist element to it, but then there are masses being mobilized. In the Eritrean case, there is class sensitive element, pro-poor, trying to establish social justice across the board, yeah, mobilizing everyone. And then this can facilitate ways in which all of us could benefit from it, and then we have faith in the process as well. If everybody is benefiting, and more or less we are in a similar level, that we could see that we could go through these steps and build a better future. So that element, being very sensitive to inequality, was very important. And I think many African states should learn from that. Any country that doesn't deal with inequality in the way Eritrea is doing, it's going to have serious problems all the time. Yeah. This is the same problem that we see here in South Africa. This is the same problem that has been a problem to social cohesion in Ethiopia. And that you have to address. The other element is using the state power to enrich yourself has in fact fade into this ethnic tensions that we're looking at. Of course, we borrowed some of it from the colonial practice, but other elements is that the post-colonial states, as occupied by local elites, and the ways in which they try to somehow enrich themselves. And then that would be facilitated using your own ethnic group to help you prop up and occupy the state power so that you accumulate more. And that's what Eritrea tries to avoid. In fact, you see the leaders, all of them, they living in government-owned houses. We don't have palaces, we don't have massive villas with swimming pool and this and that. That, I think, our Africans must pick it up. Yeah, that kind of commitment to being egalitarian, being, well-shared resource for all of us. Yeah, we here as servants, and we're going to contribute as much as we can to the well-being of the nation and the masses. And that kind of commitment, I think other Africans need to pick up on it. And the other element is self-reliance. I think we need to emphasize that even many of those governments that are incorporating developmental states approach to their development, they would need that self-reliance. Remember, developmental state requires self-reliance. You want to learn the technology, adopt it, make it your own. Yeah, that's the only way you do it. South Korea did it in a similar way. Taiwan did it in the same way by being self-reliant. You bring it that to, let's just be clear. Self-reliant doesn't mean you reject outside aid assistance. It means only facilitating growth at locally. Yeah. First, you mobilize your own energy, your own resource. Then, when you need more, you bring in, support from outside. So, unless we adopt this as part of this project, learn to do it on our own, learn from our experience, from our mistake, accumulate experience, accumulate knowledge and know-how and skill necessary to lift us off this kind of multiple challenges we face. I think we're going to have a serious problem in the coming decade as well. Yeah. So I think this is something that we can export to the rest of Africa. But it's always important to remember what Eritrea has learned it's also from other Africans. Yeah. And the Pan-Africanist element to what Eritrea talks about today, or early in the 90s, was also by embracing what Kwame Nkrumah has did, yeah, by reading Fanon, and I'm sure Gurmai would tell us it, but Frantz Fanon was very useful in allowing Eritrean leaders to think through, what does it mean to have a post-colony? How do you run a post-liberation state? What are the modalities that needed to be adopted? So it is within this kind of format that we have to understand Eritrea's contribution and lesson that it has drawn from Africa and also contributing to Africa. I think I leave the rest to Gurmai, and I'm sure he would help us out, tease them out a bit more for us.